How's it going, everyone? On to another job here. We got a paver patio to build, and we're building it in the back corner of this customer's property. We're staying about 10 to 12 feet off of the property line, but it's a pretty unusable space right now, and the customer wants to level it off and make it a nice sitting area. So the main reason this space was unusable is because of the significant grade change. We have to lift up the back side of the patio 8 to 12 inches depending on the grade. Because of that, we are taking all the soil we excavate and using it on the sides and around the patio just to lift the grade up and hold back our backfill stone. Another issue we encountered was the old root systems and the stumps buried under the soil that the builder spread. They just kind of spread it all over the stumps and the root systems that were there. None of them were huge stumps, but they were like sapling trees. So we had to get all that stuff out of the way. You can't backfill on top of root systems and small stumps. Once we got all that out of the way, we were left with a pretty dense clay subsoil, which means we want to have a good amount of 3/4 inch crushed stone for water to be able to permeate through that clay. A lot of people ask me about that, about clay subsoils. And whether or not open grade base will work, and it will absolutely work. It's going to do nothing but help your whole yard really with permeation, because what you're doing is you went in and you've made this huge dry well basically underneath your pavers for water to collect and slowly permeate in the ground that you didn't have there before. Before it was just all clay or topsoil. So once you've removed that soil and then replaced it with 3/4 inch clean crushed stone, you're doing nothing but helping your property with drainage. So that's pretty much what I tell people about clay subsoil. The only thing I would recommend is that you dig deeper. And in this situation, we did dig deeper, and we're elevating this quite a bit. So there's going to be about 15 inches of 3/4 stone on the lowest side. And with that much stone, you're going to be completely fine, even if you have a heavy clay subsoil. That is more than enough room for water to collect and be able to permeate down into the subsoil. Now what you see me doing here is spreading a thin layer of our 3/4 inch clean crushed stone over our subsoil. What that's going to do is fill in any soft spots or low spots, and we're going to compact that with our plate compactor into the subsoil. That's going to lock that stone into the soil, and it's going to help with permeation as well. When you compact a clay subsoil flat, you're making it even harder for water to penetrate through the soil. You don't want to compact the actual soil ever, in my opinion. You want to put this 3/4 stone down, then compact. That's going to correct the subsoil, and it's going to stiffen it up, and it's going to make it drain easier. And then we're going to be putting a geotech style soil separation fabric on top of that and backfilling with more 3/4 inch clean crushed stone. I'm going to bring you through some more of the details of this backfill method as the video goes on, but it's more in depth than what I typically do, and it requires us using Geo-Grid and spreading this stone out in a few lifts. So stay tuned, and I'll explain all that kind of information later on in this video. Well, good morning, everyone. We've just been head down trying to work this morning. That's why you've just been on time lapse, but hope you are all doing well. We got a lot of backfilling to do. We had to dig down to about 12 to 15 inches because it's heavy clay, and there was a lot of tree roots from trees that were here before, so we really had to excavate deep. We had 8 yards of stone delivered. Benny got 3 more, and we'll probably need more after that, I'm assuming. So this is the fabric I use. It's made by SRW Products. They call it SS5, but it's a geotech style soil separation fabric, and it's woven. It's strands of plastic woven together to make this sheet, and with it being woven together, when the 3/4 rests on it and gets backfilled on it, it opens those strips up and water permeates right through this fabric. One difference from this project and a lot that I've done on my channel is that we are going to be putting 10 to 14 inches of stone in some areas, so we're probably going to be compacting this in 3 lifts. They're good up to 6 inches, but because it's kind of right there at that point, we're going to do probably 3-4 inch lifts just to make sure this is nice and tight, because it's on clay. It's a new construction area that's been tilled up and kind of like moved around with excavators and bulldozers and stuff like that, so it's loose. So we compacted that base layer twice, and now we're going to do a layer of about 4 inches, compact that, and then we're actually going to also incorporate some Geo-Grid in on this backfill just to help stabilize that base stone even more. Hey bud, can you back up a little? Yeah, you need a good 4 feet, 5 feet, maybe 6. Okay. I'm gonna tell him you got the wrong color. Bring it back, Chuck. A little more. I like that. Hey pal.
Yeah.
I wanted the blue stone.
Shut up.
It's the exact response I was expecting. Hey bud, how you living, man?
Dude, it is bumpy out that way. Going that route.
Yeah?
Sucks.
Oh, 122?
122.
Yeah, it's bumpy. Well, it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
I'm trying to move.
Compactors, you compacting?
Yeah, dude, it's running mint.
Good.
For that much money, it should.
Yeah, seriously.
Gorgeous day though, huh bud? A lot of elevation change here. So this customer has a nice new asphalt driveway, and this house is still being built, so we're allowed to use this driveway in this area to be able to access the patio that we're building, which is really good because it actually makes our job way easier, and we don't have so much to worry about. All this stone, whatever's left on the bottom that we can't scoop up, we're going to be able to just push back into that hole because they still have to fill that in anyway. So worked out pretty nice actually. Yep. So I do get some comments about woven versus non-woven fabric, or cloth versus plastic. This fabric is what I always use unless I absolutely can't find it. But that doesn't happen because a lot of providers around me sell this fabric, and it's specifically designed for the open grade base system to keep all the soil from underneath the stone and on the sides of the stone separate, and so that they don't migrate together. It does permeate, even though some people do not think it does. They think that it holds on to water and it doesn't allow it to escape, but that's just not true. I've done hundreds of installs with this method, and I have no issues with water not draining. Once the stone is backfilled on top of that fabric and all the pressure's on it, those woven strands of plastic open and spread away from each other, which is what allows the water to permeate through. And it's another reason why I said earlier, you don't want to compact just your soil and then put fabric down. You want to put that thin layer of stone underneath, compact, then the fabric. That's going to help open those strands up and accept water even more. But that's a very important part of this process. If you don't use any kind of separation fabric, the soil and the stone will migrate together, and that's going to cause sinking and shifting in the future. So now that we got our first lift of stones spread out and compacted, we're going to lay out our Geo-Grid, and we're going to backfill with this 3/4 stone on top of that. And what it's going to do is that end where we're putting the most stone, it's going to help stabilize that base stone even more. The Geo-Grid is designed so that the stone interlocks into those open spaces, but then they have no place to go left or right. So that's what you use to stabilize this open grade base. Compactor is up and running. I broke the pull cord on it on that previous job, and I wanted to get that fixed, but it also kind of stopped running really good. So I had them do a lot of things. They put a new coil in, new carburetor, air filter, spark plug, pretty much everything went into that. I spent a few bucks, that's for sure, but it's running mint right now, so I'd be pumped if this thing got me a few more years. It's a very old compactor. I bought it from my friend for a few $100s. If you're watching, Paul, thank you, man. I love this compactor. And after a little bit of TLC and throw a few bucks at it, I'm sure this is gonna last me some years, that's for sure. Honda engine, 5.5 horsepower GX 160, I believe. Not an engine guy, I'll be honest with you. I'm just not a guy that's interested in mechanics. I know the basics of it mostly, but I'm not interested in doing it. I just want something that's gonna fire right up and work good for me while I'm working. You know, I'm not like into repairing things or getting used equipment that you can save some money on if you know how to do the work on it yourself, but it's just kind of not who I am. Okay, so now that we're backfilled pretty much to height, we have 3 lifts of 4 to 5 inches and 2 layers of Geo-Grid on the far side. And the way that I find my correct height for the base stone is I actually use the screed rails that I use for screeding the bedding material, and I just lay them out on the stone after I rake it, and I try to see how close I am. I use that to gauge my height. So I'll put the pipes down after I rake for a while. I check the pitches, the slopes, or whatever you want to call it. And if I need to lift a pipe up in one area, I'll move the pipes, put some more stone down, rake it out. If it's too high, I'll lift the pipes and rake some stone out. So on this project, we want a heavy slope towards the low side over there that we had to build up. So we want about 1/4 of a pitch. And 1/4 of a pitch would mean 1 inch per 4 feet is what we're looking for slope. 1/8 of a pitch would be 1 inch per 8 feet of slope. So we're looking somewhere in between there. We want that to go to the low side. And then we also want to do 1/8 of a slope towards the left side of the patio if you're looking at it from the house. We want that heavy slope because this patio is actually going to be in the lowest spot of this customer's property. And we want to make sure that surface water has enough slope for it to just drain right off either side. And again, with these pipes, these screed rails that we're using, it allows us to be really accurate and let us see exactly where we're going to be when we go to lay our screed rails in and spread our chip stone. So this is just the way I do it. You just go one section at a time, and you keep moving your pipes, and if you're within 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of where you want to be, that's going to be fine, because you'll be able to make up for that with the chip stone when you go to start screeding. We are graded and ready to compact and start screeding. So that way to get yourself to grade is applicable in most patio or walkway situations. You can just kind of rough grade it, get it close, and then check with those pipes. If you need to add a little bit, move the pipes out, put some stone under, and just kind of go one little section at a time. And then you know when you go back and you're ready to screed that the grade is going to be pretty dang close to correct. And if you got to go up a little bit with your screed pipes, you add a little chip stone. You can add up to like a 1/2 inch of chip stone underneath your pipes to get those to where they need to be. So there is some room for error, but for me, that's the best way that I found to get things to grade in the most efficient way. Even setting up a transit or a laser, it's somewhat accurate, but when you start dealing with slopes, you got to be messing with the transit, you got to be changing your heights and stuff like that, or you know, there's a few other things that are involved. So I just do it that old-fashioned way. Works out good for me, and if you try it, I'm sure it'll work out good for you. There is a lot of 3/4 stone here. In this farthest end, there's probably about 15-16 inches of stone, and there's probably about 10 on this side. So we backfilled and compacted in 2 lifts already with Geo-Grid, and this is our 3rd lift to our top of grade height. So it's going to be the 3rd time we've compacted this. Actually 4th if you count the layer beneath this fabric. This will be the 4th time we compacted it. Second paver job of 2023. I'm using this new chip stone again. I was pretty happy with the results of that last job. I did get a couple comments about how I feel about it, because it's a little bit more round. It is more round, but if you look, it's all angular edges. It's not like washed round stone. This is crushed rock still, so there's a lot of angular edges to it. And it really packs together nice, locks together good. And then there's smaller pieces than that old bluestone chip rock that I usually get, so it screeds a bit easier. So I'm happy with it. I'll probably be using it for the rest of the year, or as long as they have it available. So let's get this area compacted. Benny! You ready to screed, dude?
I'm ready.
That's it for the excavation and backfill portion of this project. Stay tuned for the next video on my channel, which is going to be us screeding and laying the paver patio. It's a triangular shape with a curved outside, so it's going to be pretty cool, something I've never really done before. Thanks for the support to everyone who watches the videos every time I upload, and I always appreciate the comments, so hit me up down there with any questions. And until the next one, you guys know the deal. God bless. Peace.